After 5 years abroad, I became Adrian's unforgettable white moonlight. At the alumni reunion, everyone said he divorced his childhood sweetheart wife for me. No one knew that we had a secret relationship for 3 years. Just before our engagement, he publicly registered his marriage with Aurora, the childhood sweetheart. Iris, please understand. Aurora's parents suddenly passed away. She just wants a family member. Don't worry, once she recovers from the shock, I will divorce her and give you the most grand wedding. After saying these words, he sent me to a remote island abroad. Now I'm back and he's divorced. Everyone is urging me to accept his deep affection, and Adrian is looking at me expectantly. But only I know that I crawled back from hell to make certain people suffer eternally. So I calmly took out my late-stage stomach cancer diagnosis report. Since everyone is so free, how about doing some good deeds? Everyone's smiles froze on their faces. On the diagnosis report, the words stage 4 stomach cancer were clearly visible. Iris, don't use yourself to get back at me. I arrange for people to give you a physical exam every year. How could you possibly? Adrian's eyes instantly turned red. Physical exam? Hearing those 2 words, I just felt ridiculous. Mr. Adrian, have you forgotten? 5 years ago, I was penniless when you sent me to the isolated island, and Mrs. Adrian was pregnant. You transferred all the medical resources on the island back to the country. Adrian awkwardly shifted his gaze. An old classmate hurriedly tried to smooth things over. After all, it's his wife and children. It's normal to be nervous. It's not what you think. Adrian interrupted him in a panic, seemingly eager to prove something to me. But in front of so many people he was concerned about Aurora's reputation, and shut his mouth. See? Even divorced, his protection of her is still etched in his bones. Truly, childhood sweethearts and 5 years as husband and wife. The old classmate was also a little embarrassed, but still forced a smile at me. Who doesn't have a past? But everyone knows that Adrian fell in love with you at first sight as soon as he entered college. You are the one he loves most forever. I lowered my eyes and said nothing. Everyone knew. But only I didn't know. 8 years ago, if I hadn't confessed first, was he planning to just find an alumni gathering like today, forcibly stuff his divorced self to me, and expect me to nod in gratitude? Or was he just going to run a small family with Aurora while coaxing me and keeping me outside, as a canary that can't be seen? I couldn't tell, so I simply tapped the test report. The past is the past, but since everyone is so enthusiastic, are you donating via WeChat or Alipay? The whole place froze again. Everyone looked at Adrian. Adrian picked up the report with difficulty and choked up a bit. Iris, don't be afraid. If this is true, I will save you no matter what. If. I was speechless and chuckled. I wish more than anyone that this was fake, but unfortunately it isn't. Just like back then, I so wanted him to believe me, but he never did. Even now, it's still the same. Then how much money is Mr. Adrian planning to give me? Can you not just talk about money all the time? Disappointment flashed across Adrian's face. I said I will save you, and I will arrange the best medical resources for you. Unfortunately, I only believe in money now. I snatched back the report and said in a deep voice, since no one plans to donate money, then I'll leave first. Adrian stood up abruptly. Where are you going? Where else could I go? To pick a grave, of course. After wandering for so many years, I can't end up without a place to settle down, can I? I waved my hand and left without looking back. Perhaps it's just bad luck. I had barely left the hotel when a little boy charged at me and slammed into my stomach. A sharp pain exploded in my gut. I fought back the pain and dizziness, kindly supporting him. But he burst into tears and sat down on the ground, immediately attracting a crowd of onlookers. What's going on? Someone asked. The little boy immediately wailed. You hussy. Not only are you trying to steal my dad, but you're also trying to kidnap me. How shameless. Heartless. Breaking up someone's family, and then trying to kidnap their child. Call the police. We have to call the police. The crowd was filled with righteous indignation. I clutched my stomach, cold sweat pouring down my face from the pain, unable to say a word. They thought I was scared and pushed me to the ground, kicking and punching me. Human traffickers deserve to die. Hussies deserve to die. I was powerless to resist, only able to stare at their twisted faces while curling up into a ball, until I could no longer suppress the fishy taste in my throat, and spat out a mouthful of blood. The crowd panicked and disappeared in a puff of smoke. I collapsed to the ground, like a dying fish. The little boy got up from the ground and stomped on my stomach again. "Bad woman. I'll teach you to steal my dad." The pain intensified, and a mouthful of blood choked me. Everything went white. This time, I was probably really going to die. But unexpectedly, I felt calm. The little boy looked a lot like Adrian. It was clear he was his child. If I wasn't suffering from the pain, I would have beaten him up. But now I really couldn't bring myself to care. In the last moment of losing consciousness, Adrian's angry shout came. "Spencer, what are you doing?" When I woke up, Adrian was by my bedside. He nervously took my hand and pressed it to his face. He must have been watching for a long time. His eyes were frighteningly red. "Iris, don't worry. I've put everyone who hurt you behind bars. The Pay Corporation has the best legal team in the country. They'll get at least 8 years. What about your son?" Adrian paused before nervously squeezing my palm. "The child is still young. He misunderstood our relationship and acted rashly. Iris, you've always been the most gentle and generous. You definitely wouldn't hold a grudge against a child, right?" "A child?" I coldly pulled my hand away. "What about the adults?" "Aurora went to the restroom, and you know that little children can't just go into the women's restroom. So she had him wait by the car. What happened later was really just a misunderstanding." Adrian explained hurriedly. He looked so nervous, as if I could really do something to his Aurora. I laughed in anger. "Then tell me, when have you ever heard of onlookers mistaking someone for a human trafficker, and not calling the police first, but instead directly swarming forward and beating them up? In this day and age, even sending a pregnant woman home makes people suspicious of being a trafficking ring. How could everyone believe what a child says? Moreover, this wasn't the first time this had happened. 6 years ago, I accepted Aurora's invitation to go hiking, and halfway there I was inexplicably slandered as a mistress and beaten up. Adrian said it was a misunderstanding back then too. I believed him. After having them publicly clarify the misunderstanding, apologize and compensate me, I let them go. Who knew that when Adrian went to buy medicine, I actually saw Aurora transferring money to those people? I told Adrian about it. Adrian said he would go find Aurora and settle the score, but when he came back, he comforted me gently. Aurora said that she just thought those were ordinary people who didn't make much money, and as long as they showed remorse, that was enough. We don't lack that little bit of money, so she returned the compensation they paid. Back then I was naive and didn't see any intimacy between Adrian and Aurora, and really thought Aurora was just kind. Now history was repeating itself. I'm not that naive woman anymore, so how could I believe that? Seeing my ugly expression, Adrian hurriedly reached for my hand again. "If you're really angry, I'll have them come over and apologize to you right now." "Shouldn't they apologize?" I scoffed, dodging his hand. "Yes, I know it was the child's fault," Adrian sighed. "But I've already scolded him. He was terrified, and Aurora was comforting him, which is why he couldn't come to apologize sooner. Always protecting them as usual. He says we're divorced, but clearly, it's the kind of attitude where the mother and son will link arms and happily run back to him. However, I no longer care. I didn't argue with him pointlessly anymore. I directly took out my phone and opened the payment QR code. "Your son has seriously damaged my reputation and body, Mr. Adrian is reluctant to have his wife and son apologize, so let's settle it with compensation." "Money, money, money. It's always money." Adrian revealed a heartbroken expression. "Is there nothing else we can talk about besides money? When did you become someone who only cares about money? The doctor said you're in good health and don't have cancer at all." "I think Aurora is right. You deliberately fabricated a fake report to swindle money from me. I shouldn't have transferred the medical team away back then, but I didn't restrict your freedom. You could have gone for a checkup anytime. How could it have dragged on until late-stage cancer?" His accusations made me laugh. A destitute orphan who has to work 3 jobs a day and can only afford 1 meal, who has to endure illnesses without treatment, how could she afford expensive overseas medical checkups? I spent 5 years living that life where my dignity was trampled in the mud. I finally returned to China, but was unexpectedly diagnosed with cancer. That's how it is, so what else should I talk about besides money? Talk about his sanctimonious cheating back then? Or talk about his indifference and harm over the years? I stood firm. This is the compensation the Pei family should give. Iris. Adrian was completely disappointed. He took out his phone, scanned the code, and retorted through gritted teeth. If you insist on being so clear with me, then I'll calculate how much money you've spent on me over the years. Watching the 200,000 arrive in my account, I raised my hand and saw him out. Please leave. Great, at least the money for the cemetery is settled. As for the accounting, let Adrian calculate it if he wants. He'll only realize after calculating that I haven't used a single penny of his money all these years. In the past, people said that love is where the money is, and I scoffed at it. I didn't use Adrian's money, but he still spoiled me to the core. He would run dozens of kilometers in the pouring rain to buy me my favorite pan-fried buns. He would kowtow thousands of times in front of the Buddha to pray for my safety, and he would put aside all his official duties to accompany me on a trip to the place I wanted to go on my birthday. He always did his best to give me everything best. So, when he asked me to take out my bank card before getting married, and said he wanted to do a prenuptial agreement, I didn't hesitate at all. It was too late for regrets when I saw him publicly announce his marriage to Aurora in the news. He sent me to an isolated island overseas overnight. As we parted, he swore earnestly, "Iris, I'm just afraid you'll leave me. That's why I took your money. But don't worry, I've prepared everything on the island, and someone will take care of you. After I get divorced, I'll come pick you up." But the people he said would take care of me did nothing but beat me, abuse me, give me the least amount of food, and make me do all the work day after day. If I hadn't snuck onto the supply ship and escaped to the city, I might have died there by now. Just as I was thinking, the hospital room door was kicked open with a bang. I subconsciously picked up my phone. I saw Aurora walk in arrogantly and throw a stack of photos on my face. "Iris, I was able to steal Adrian away 5 years ago. Now this used and abused slut, you still want to fight with me?" The photos fluttered down. I immediately saw the contents, and the painful memories of heartbreak and helplessness on the isolated island instantly surged back. Men were reaching out to me with ferocious expressions. "Little bitch, do you think Mr. Adrian will come to save you? This is the place Mr. Adrian specifically uses to entertain clients. He sent you here. Don't you understand what that means? Don't worry, I'm very satisfied with your appearance. As long as you serve me well, I'll go back and sign the Pei's contract." Countless vulgar words accompanied the men's movements. I struggled desperately, only to be met with endless slaps and more forceful persecution. I didn't lose consciousness in despair until I bled heavily below. When I woke up, I found out I was pregnant. My child with Adrian, just like that, was gone. And because of that, I forever lost the right to be a mother. Thinking of the child I never met, I couldn't help but shudder. "How did you get these?" "Of course, Adrian gave them to me." Aurora laughed wildly. "He said you're dwelling on the child's small mistakes, and he told me to warn you, if you dare pursue this any further, even in death you'll be nailed to the pillar of shame, cursed by the world." "Adrian, you really are ruthless. It's a pity, after my parents died 8 years ago. You were the only one I cared about in this world. But now, there's no one I care about anymore. When a person dies, it's like a lamp extinguished. Your threats don't work." I closed my eyes, suppressing the fears and helplessness of the past. When I opened them again, I got straight to the point. "So, are you here to apologize or compensate?" "What?" Aurora was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "So what if I deliberately had Spencer hit you? So what if I called those people over? Do you think Adrian would really punish me for you?" "I don't know if Adrian will, but the law will." I held up my phone, which showed that I was currently on a call with 110 police. The next second, the police and Adrian rushed into the ward at the same time. Aurora immediately fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face. "Iris, I just wanted to come and apologize to you. It's fine if you hit me, but to ask for 30 million in compensation and then call the police because I can't afford it, you're not considering Adrian's feelings at all." Her pitiful appearance, as expected, aroused Adrian's heartache. He quickly went over to help her up, and when he looked at me again, he still had that extremely disappointed expression. Iris, I already gave you compensation, and you still dare to extort Aurora. Today I won't protect you. You can go to jail and reflect on your actions. When you know you're wrong, I'll come and pick you up. Still that superior attitude. Wait for me to divorce. Wait for you to realize your mistakes. But Adrian, I can't wait, and I don't want to wait anymore. I ignored him and calmly looked at the police. I, Iris, am formally reporting Aurora for hiring others to illegally infringe on my body and personality. I request the arrest and interrogation of the people who hurt me that day. Iris, you're crazy, Adrian said in disbelief. I've already said that I'll make them pay the price. Why are you still trying to frame Aurora like you did 5 years ago? Adrian, don't say any more. Let her vent if she has anger in her heart. Anyway, I'm just your ex-wife now, so you don't need to worry about me. Aurora's tears flowed even more happily. At this moment, she still thinks that as long as she appeases Adrian, he will be able to protect her? I watched the two of them act with a cold smile, without saying a word. As expected, Adrian took the bait, tenderly stroking Aurora's hair. Aurora, even if we're divorced, I'll always be your family. How can I let people slander you like this? Saying that, he grabbed my wrist and warned in a cold voice. Iris, immediately withdraw the accusations against Aurora, otherwise, I really won't forgive you anymore. You love me so much. I used to be too lenient with you. That's why you've become so brazen. But now, I picked up the scattered photos on the bed one by one, and handed them to the police. I am formally reporting Adrian for illegally seizing other people's property, illegal imprisonment, and engaging in power sex transactions against their will. This is the evidence. No one thought I would turn the gun on Adrian. The entire ward instantly fell into an eerie silence. The police took the photos, glanced at them, and then pulled out handcuffs towards Adrian and Aurora with a serious expression. Please come with us. What is this? Adrian finally recovered from his shock, looking at the photos in the police's hand in astonishment. The first photo was of me, covered in bruises, tied to a wooden stake and simultaneously violated by 4 men. He recognized all 4 of those men. They were all presidents of companies that had partnerships with the Pay Corporation. Aurora herself was responsible for handling their projects. Aurora's face changed, and she hurriedly blocked Adrian's gaze, whispering into his ear. I accidentally learned from a client that Iris couldn't bear the loneliness abroad, and insisted on playing some exciting games with them. I got these photos, originally wanting to persuade Iris to turn back, but I didn't expect her to slander you as soon as she opened her mouth. Iris, Adrian glared at me, eyes red with anger. Have you degraded yourself to this point? I sent you to an isolated island, but did I deprive you of food and clothing? Why must you debase yourself like this? At that moment he seemed truly disappointed in me. But I just smiled lightly. Mr. Adrian, Mrs. Adrian, please. Good luck with yourself. Adrian dropped these words and followed the police in sorrow. Aurora lagged behind a step, deliberately approaching me and sneering. Do you think you can attract Adrian's attention like this? Don't be delusional. Now that Adrian knows you're such a dirty thing, he won't want you anymore. Besides, you're almost dead, so don't waste your energy. Even if we're sent in, the Pay family will quickly bail us out, and your fate will only be more miserable then. She stimulated my heart with every word. I glanced at her lightly, then suddenly smiled, approaching her in the same way. What do you think I came back to the country for? Did you think I didn't know I would see Adrian at the alumni reunion? Did you think someone else told you Adrian would meet me at the hotel? Or did you think I didn't know that all the suffering I endured these 5 years was at your instigation? Tell me, in the face of Li Yi, will Adrian, who likes to act so much, protect you at all costs, or will he protect himself and abandon you? Bitch, I won't let you go. Aurora was taken away by the police in a state of collapse. I looked at her struggling back, feeling unprecedentedly relieved in my heart. But the next moment, I felt a fishy taste in my throat and vomited up several mouthfuls of blood. The surrounding nurses quickly dialed the attending physician's phone. Dr. Miles, the patient in room 18 is vomiting blood again. Miles rushed over, looking haggard. He hadn't even put on his white coat properly and hastily flipped through my test reports, frowning as he advised, "You should stop tossing about and just rest in the hospital." "You care?" I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. "Of course you're my patient, and also my childhood friend. Miles looked pained. "Seeing you like this, I'm also very sad." I laughed out loud right then and there. "Then when you accepted Aurora's money and told Adrian I wasn't sick, did you remember that I was your patient? Then when you gave me sleeping pills, making me miss the opportunity to expose Adrian and Aurora face to face, forcing me to be sent to the isolated island, did you remember that we were childhood friends? Why weren't you sad at these times?" My words were pointed and pierced to the heart. Miles instantly turned pale, staggering a few steps before painfully covering his face. "I couldn't help it, Iris. I love you. I didn't want you to be with Adrian. I didn't want you to entangle with a Janan like him in your final days. I didn't want to." "Shut up." I really couldn't listen anymore. Adrian said he loved me, but cheated before marriage, imprisoned me on an isolated island, and allowed Aurora to arbitrarily bully me and trample on me. Miles said he liked me, but helped others hurt me at every turn. Such cheap feelings, even dogs don't cherish. You were the attending physician after I was violated and had a miscarriage back then, right? How did you? Miles' face turned even paler. He looked more precarious than me, the seriously ill patient. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Although my eyes were injured at the time and covered with gauze, I wasn't deaf. How could I not recognize the voice of someone I grew up with? "I remember I asked you for help. I desperately begged you to take me away from that isolated island. That hell, but what was your answer?" Miles couldn't stay any longer. Watching him run out of the ward in a state of collapse, I finally couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground. I wanted to laugh, but tears flowed first. The scene from that day was vivid in my mind. Realizing that the person treating me was my childhood friend, I immediately knelt in front of him, begging bitterly, "Take me away, or I'll really die here. If I take you, not only will I not be able to escape, but my career and my family will be destroyed by Mr. Adrian. I can't afford to gamble." He fled in panic, taking away my last shred of hope. From that day on, I understood a principle. Love and friendship, none of it can be relied upon. In a critical moment, you have to rely on yourself. So, I pretended to be obedient, letting the servants on the isolated island beat and trample on me, secretly plotting how to escape. Eventually, I succeeded. The next step after escaping was naturally revenge. This was the motivation that sustained me. So for the past 4 years, besides maintaining basic survival, I have been collecting evidence that could help me get revenge. Until a month ago, I started vomiting blood frequently and losing weight drastically. I knew I couldn't wait any longer. So I returned to the country overnight, deliberately choosing Miles's hospital for a checkup. The result was as expected. Late-stage stomach cancer. The moment I received the report, the class monitor sent a message about a class reunion, and I agreed without hesitation. There's no saving me. But at least, before I die, I have to take revenge myself. I collapsed and never got out of bed again. The police had to send someone over to take my statement. I submitted all the evidence I had collected over the years of the Pei family's illegal transactions, tax evasion, and Aurora's instigation of others to carry out various repressions and persecutions against me, then fell into a drowsy sleep again. When I woke up again, I was tied up in an abandoned factory. Adrian's mother sat on the chair in front of me, still with the arrogant posture of a wealthy lady, looking at me with cold eyes. Immediately withdraw the accusations against Adrian, and I can reluctantly agree to ignore Aurora's matter. My stomach was burning fiercely. I endured the pain and smiled. "Aurora is your grandson's mother. How can you bear to do that?" A hint of hesitation flashed in Adrian's mother's eyes, but she immediately hardened again. "As long as Adrian is safe, I'm willing to be the villain." "But I refuse." My smile disappeared, and I looked back at her coldly. "Old lady, you're committing a crime. I've already taken care of the hospital. No one knows I kidnapped you." Adrian's mother was very confident. "As long as you don't sue Adrian, I can let you pass away with dignity, and even personally help you send Aurora to prison. How about that?" "Not good," I coldly retorted. Do you think I only hate Aurora? If it wasn't for Adrian's indulgence and disregard, would she dare to go that far? If it wasn't for Adrian wanting it all, would she have gone that far? Your Pei family can put all the blame on Aurora, but I pointed to my heart. I will never forgive Adrian. Adrian's mother frowned. She had never taken me seriously. She always felt that a weak and lonely girl like me, someone who had already been trampled in the mud, wasn't even qualified to be her opponent. After a moment, she relaxed her brow again and waved disdainfully to the bodyguard behind her. Then I'll have to ask you to go on your way first. The bodyguard approached me step by step with the dagger. Looking at the dagger getting closer and closer, I was not afraid, but laughed out loud. Old lady, how big do you think a person's determination for revenge can be? Before the words were finished, I had already stood up abruptly and rushed towards the dagger. Stop! Everyone, put your hands up. Special police officers poured in like flowing water. The guns in their hands were pointed directly at Adrian's mother and those bodyguards. I fell to the ground, laughing while spitting blood. Adrian's mother's face instantly darkened, and she looked at me in disbelief. You plotted against me? How dare you? Before she could finish speaking, she was already being apprehended. Save me! I begged hoarsely. I was so weak that I seemed like I could die at any moment. Miles bypassed the SWAT team, carrying the medical kit, and rushed to my side to give me emergency treatment. I controlled the position of this stab. The dagger was originally aimed at my neck, but it ended up stabbing my shoulder. Although I lost a lot of blood, it wasn't enough to kill me immediately. I'm sorry I'm late. Miles choked. You called the police? I spat out the blood in my mouth and gave him a miserable smile. You came just in time, thank you. Thank you for not failing the purpose of deliberately arousing your guilt. I was in a coma for a full week this time. When I woke up again, I was surprised to see Adrian guarding the bed. He had lost a lot of weight and was unshaven, looking very miserable. Seeing that I was awake, he immediately excitedly called Miles over. Miles visibly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw me. It's good you're awake. Take a good rest. I've discovered a new treatment these past few days that might be able to cure your stomach cancer. I'm sorry, Iris. Adrian held my thin hand with a painful expression. I know everything now. I know everything Aurora and my mom did to you. It's all my fault. I coldly withdrew my hand, not wanting to pay attention to him. Adrian immediately knelt on the ground and began to slap himself. I didn't know you lived like that on the isolated island. I didn't know you were humiliated like that. I didn't know we had a child. I didn't know you had such a hard time these past few years. I didn't know you were really sick. If I had known. You didn't not know, you just didn't care. If you had just visited me on the isolated island once, if you had just paid a little more attention to my movements, if you had just returned my money to me, I wouldn't have lived like that. Adrian was stunned for a long while, then suddenly beat his chest and stomped his feet, wailing loudly. It's my fault. It's all my fault. It's me who deserves to die. It was so noisy it gave me a headache. I turned my head and closed my eyes. I'm tired, please leave. No. I won't leave. Adrian stubbornly lay down beside the bed. I'll kneel here and watch over you. I'll only get up when you're willing to forgive me. I frowned and shouted angrily. If you want to kneel, kneel outside. Don't be an eyesore here. Adrian was silent for a moment and finally made up his mind. Okay, I'll kneel at the door. Call me whenever you need me. Saying that, he really went out of the hospital room and knelt down with a thud. I glanced at the open door, my heart only filled with coldness. Need. Unfortunately, I will never need you again. Close the door. I ordered Miles. Miles immediately complied. He then sat back beside my bed concernedly, picked up a bowl of millet porridge, and smiled as he wanted to feed me. He looked very happy that I was treating Adrian this way. I'm not hungry. I pushed away the spoon and asked in a cold voice, what's going on with him? Most of the Pei family's mess was done by Aurora, and the rest was taken on by Adrian's mother voluntarily, so Adrian was released. Miles sighed, then quickly told me happily. But the Pei family has declared bankruptcy after this turmoil. Adrian has nothing now and he has to take care of a child. He can't hinder us anymore. Is that so? I looked at him with a deep gaze. He looked expectant, as if he really believed that after his action of calling the police for me that time, all the past harm had been written off. Unfortunately, it can't. How can I forget the experience of being abandoned by the most trusted friend in my most desperate moment? What's more, Miles, you don't really think that the police responded because you called them, do you? I laughed sarcastically. In his shocked and puzzled gaze, I exposed the truth word by word. When the police took my statement, I had already applied for witness protection. I just didn't let them directly station someone outside the ward in order to provide Adrian's mother with the conditions for kidnapping. I told them that I would send them a location every 2 hours. If I didn't send it or the location wasn't at the hospital, they should dispatch immediately. You thought I was really unconscious when Adrian's mother asked you to cover up her whereabouts at the hospital. In order to ensure that I stayed awake, I didn't even take painkillers. After giving my statement and going back to bed, I just wanted to save some energy. Fortunately, Adrian's mother was more impatient than I was and took action not long after the police left. Miles' face paled again. But this time I chose you. You only know that the evidence I provided to the police is enough to bring down the Pei family, so you want to take this opportunity to make me forgive you. You're just like me, wanting to take this opportunity to send Adrian's mother in and completely destroy the Pei family. What? After playing the role of a savior for a few days, you've actually taken it to heart. Don't worry, your retribution is coming soon. Dr. Miles, the dean is looking for you. A knock on the door interrupted me. Miles shook his head in disbelief. You're actually using me so ruthlessly, to get revenge on me? I even dared to throw myself onto the sharp end of the blade. I smiled indifferently. Do you think there's anything I can't bring myself to do? Miles frowned, still wanting to say something. But I waved my hand. You're useless to me now, get out. I have things to say to Adrian. Iris. Miles called out my name in anguish. But the nurse's urging was incessant, and in the end, he couldn't say anything and turned to leave the ward. He only snorted coldly as he passed Adrian. You think she'll rekindle your old flame? You're wrong, she's back to seek revenge on you, she'll never forgive you. She will forgive me. Adrian didn't care about his provocation at all. After all, we once loved each other so much. Loved each other? I tried hard to recall, but those distant memories had long been blurred. That boy who held me tightly when my parents died unexpectedly, promising to protect me for the rest of my life and never let me be hurt again. That boy who had 3 ribs broken by thugs to protect me, but still comforted me at the first moment. He had long died the moment he and Aurora officially announced their marriage. With that thought, I coughed lightly. Adrian, come in, I forgive you. Adrian's defeated face instantly shone brightly. He scrambled back to my hospital bed. I touched his face, but my eyes fell on Miles. How does it feel to have your future and love destroyed at the same time? Miles staggered back a couple of steps. He seemed to want to turn around and question me, but the nurse stopped him. Dr. Miles, the dean asked you to see him immediately. Miles reluctantly left. Adrian trembled as he pulled me into his arms. Iris, are you really willing to forgive me? What about you? I shook my head with a bitter smile. I sent Aurora and your mother in, don't you hate me? They deserved it. Speaking of this, Adrian's eyes turned red with hatred. If it weren't for them interfering, we wouldn't have ended up like this, and you wouldn't have suffered so much. I leaned gently on his shoulder. My voice was full of sobs. We once loved each other so much, and I didn't want to hurt you either, but I just thought that I was going to die anyway. Why should the people who hurt me be able to live happily? I just couldn't help it. I know everything. Adrian hugged me tighter. Don't worry, Aurora has already been sentenced to death, and my mother has also been sentenced to life imprisonment. No one will ever hurt you again. But I have terminal stomach cancer. I buried my head on his shoulder, tears streaming down helplessly. He immediately felt even more distressed. Don't worry, although the Pei family is bankrupt, I still have the old house. I can sell the old house to pay for your treatment. Not enough. I shook my head. I just want to spend the last journey with you quietly now. Can you send that child away? Seeing him always makes me think of your betrayal and that beating that day. Adrian paused. I immediately cried again. Forget it, I'm too stupid. I thought I was really the most important person in your heart, but it turns out the child is more important than me. Don't cry. Adrian panicked. I promise you I will. I hugged him tightly. You broke your promise to me once 5 years ago, making me so miserable. Now that I'm about to die, you won't break your promise to me again, will you? Adrian shook his head, his expression gradually becoming frenzied. This time I will definitely do what I say. I leaned against his shoulder, smiling contentedly. That night, Adrian returned to the old house. The next day, he dragged a suitcase back to the ward, diligently unzipping it and tossing out Spencer, who was covered in blood. Spencer was barely alive. Instinctively he begged Adrian. Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened to Mom and hurt Aunt Lynn. I apologize. Adrian looked deranged. No, only when you disappear will Iris truly forgive me. Why did you bring him here? I frowned, kicking Adrian like I used to. I told you I didn't want to see him again. Adrian rarely saw me with such vitality. He immediately grabbed my foot and kissed it. I'll take this beast away right now. A dense wave of nausea surged up. I forced myself to endure it, and only after watching him drag the suitcase away did I rush into the bathroom and scrub my foot over and over again. Immediately afterward, I dialed the police again. 2 days later, Adrian was arrested in the mountains. When he was arrested, there was a child's corpse next to him, none other than Spencer. I mustered my last breath to go to the police station to see Adrian. Adrian, separated by the glass window, looked at me with heartache. Iris, this time I didn't break my promise. If you die, I'll go with you. Okay. I vomited blood. You have my word. Watching Adrian being led away, I slowly wiped the blood from my lips, reapplied my makeup, and requested a meeting with Aurora. Aurora, seeing me, was taken aback before sneering. What, you want to show off that you won? I'm just kindly telling you that Spencer is dead. I looked at her calmly. Adrian did it. Aurora's eyes widened. It was you, wasn't it? You instigated it. Police, arrest her, she incited murder. I didn't tell him to kill anyone. I tilted my head, my face full of innocence. I just told him to send the child away. Who knew he would be so impulsive and just? Liar, Aurora roared hysterically, then suddenly remembered something and laughed wildly. Iris, so what if you got your revenge? Aren't you still going to die? Haha. Really? I smiled leisurely, taking out a medical report from my bag and handing it over. Too bad, you were right, that medical report was fake. You're the most familiar with the act of faking illness, aren't you? What? Did you actually believe it? Aurora frantically tore the medical report into pieces. Fake. It's fake. You're going to die, ha ha ha. The prison guards quickly dragged her away. I got up and walked away with light steps. 2 days after Aurora's execution, Miles visited Adrian with a box of ashes. That night, Adrian hanged himself in his cell, hugging the ashes. He really did what he said he would do. I was preparing to board a plane when I received the news of Adrian's death. Miles on the phone had just gotten off the plane. Gunfire was rampant over there, and his voice sounded very unreal. So this is what you wanted? Aurora and Adrian both died before you, and I've decided to become a war correspondent and never go back. What about you? Your illness? His tone was still full of concern. I looked at the starry sky, laughing with ease. You actually thought I had stomach cancer? What? Miles was stunned. But the medical report was real. Silly, I picked it up. I was indeed sick at the time, but it was just a slightly more serious stomach illness. When I got the report, I was worried about how to use such a deadly but money-consuming illness for revenge. As a result, I bumped into a girl in a hurry. Her medical report fell on the ground, and she crouched down and cried hysterically. I'm going to die so young. How will my parents live in the future? Looking at the same name and age on the medical report, I felt that God was helping me. So I stuffed my medical record book into her hands. I'll give you 100,000 yuan for your medical record. How about it? The girl's dead eyes finally had a little light. She slowly nodded. Okay. Everything that followed was just me acting out the symptoms the girl had posted. In fact, as long as Miles had checked the medical record number in the system a little more carefully, he would have noticed the discrepancy. But he didn't. He was utterly immersed in the fantasy of being my savior, but in the end he became a pawn in my revenge. And I used Adrian's 200,000 compensation to cure my illness. Now that my revenge is complete, it's time for me to live for myself. I laughed as I hung up the phone, casually threw away the phone card, and boarded the plane to a new life without looking back.